Hey guys, it's
Recap time.
yeah, it's Gunn from El Realm Beyond. Here with Michael, the dungeon master for Ansdon. We're gonna get you guys caught up a little bit on what's been going on with the campaign. Um, this this campaign started what, Michael? Last November.
Yeah, last November, around camera was sliding. Sorry about that. I don't know if it
It's all
was
right.
visible on the stream or not, but my camera was starting to slide.
It's all good.
Uh, no, that's September is my first 9/14
September.
of
So
last year was our start date.
yeah, so we've been going pretty hard for about 6 7 months now, I guess.
We had a month and a half break for holidays.
Yeah. So go ahead and for those that aren't familiar with Ansdon, go ahead and tell everybody kind of a little bit about, get a little background on your campaign.
Um, so Ansdon, let me trying to get the world map. This is right, what you're seeing right here uh, on the map is the Cedarville. See if I can get a little bit. Make sure I have it on here. It's the Cedarville, Jeweled Crest Plains trifecta kind of region. Up north of Cedarville is a city called Nillabel. This is the once I have the map up on Roll20. This is the western part of my world called Ansdon. It's segregated, like say not even segregated. It's split up amongst the races, like to a good fashion. Cedarville is humans, a few orcs, and all along down the way to Gisner's Bay and the Little Mist, mix of humans, orcs, dwarves. On your coastal region right here, Trenton and Bailey Saddle, more humans, elves. Most of the time in this region of Ansdon, elves are predominantly north here, which you can barely see off the side, but I've just pinged in the city of Nelbel, which is predominantly elven. There is a good, healthy mix of gnomes, dwarves, orcs, other little city-approved races that would be allowed to come inside. But just like any other D&D world, there's
Just
antics,
just kind of
politics.
right. We just kind of got a mixture of races throughout the area. So with that in mind,
Yes.
so there's five of us playing. Unfortunately, there was six at one time. Jeremy had to step outside for personal work reasons.
Yes.
Jeremy, if you're watching this, miss have anybody. Um, but go ahead and give us kind of a little taste of what some of the viewers get, so they kind of know who's who, I guess.
All right. I will. Let me see if I can show. Yeah, I should be able to do this. Right here. This gentleman right here.
Yes,
This is
crack.
Grump. He is our kobold monk. Multiple aliases, depending on what region, at least of the east. Sorry, the western coast of Ansdon. The players is the crack demon. And I don't know where we met this Frazzle at, but he's known to this person as Macho Man. These are just my little personal quick notes. Grunk is actually played by my co-host for this little recap, Gun. Uh, I believe he's 7, right?
And he's not
9.
nine. Yeah.
He's not 9 years old. Actually, a lot smarter than what he plays off. Well, I'll say smarter. He's a lot wiser than what he plays off.
Yeah.
Uh,
Grunk is for those. Okay, not. I get to my own horn because this is my character. He's considered an adult for a kobold, but for the rest of the world, he has a certain naivety, I guess would be the word for it.
yeah.
He's not real familiar with some of the more adult things, I guess, that happen sometimes in the campaign, which leads to him having a little more shenanigans, I guess.
Yeah. Um, he's definitely a lovable character. Next, we do have our teenage angst player in the party, which I think I just showed, but might be under Grunk on your screen.
Yeah, it's probably on under mine.
Waiting for yours to boot.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah.
Did you see it, or did it show
No,
up?
go ahead and pull it up again, man.
Trying to show it, it's taking its time. Well, we'll try another one and see if maybe that'll work. Are they not showing it all? Oh, well, we'll just briefly.
Yeah, if nothing
Do we
else,
have one pop up?
if nothing else, just ping the tokens up there in the corner, man. We can do that.
There you go. I'm just doing this real quick. I'm putting them briefly in your journal so you can look
Sure.
at them.
We got Lion.
Leandra, we'll go with Leandra next.
Okay. Let me find
This
it.
is Leandra Bright. She is our human ranger. She is played by a player of ours by the name of Rogues, or Badass Rogues. Leandra grew up in was more of a servant family to an extent of they served a nobler family. She comes from the Nellabel region. Things from her past do hunt her, as do the effects of, as the effects of being in certain kinds of rituals tend to do to you. So like I said, she is our ranger of the party. She tends to be more the silent type, is not afraid to kind of speak her mind if she really needs to, but is also very, very afraid of what others think of her. But she is, at this point in time, unless the DM has read group relations wrong, very close with Gaius and trying to work her way back in with the rest of the party, as early on in the adventures, she did not get off on the wrong foot at all.
Well, and her and Grunk have kind of got a weird relationship too.
Yeah.
They're on friendly terms, but they're not like best of pals. But where Grunk is kind of very extroverted, Lyandra is the complete opposite of that. I mean, am I incorrect in saying that?
No, she's very much keep to herself, help if she can. More recently, there probably was one of the bigger bonding moments with her with the party, where through some antics, the group found themselves in a room trying to talk about some stuff. Leandra's got a dark passengers.
Mm-hmm.
She has a demon inside of her that without her, the demon cannot live. And at this point, without the demon, it might spell fatal for her,
Right.
unless there's some kind of magics or ritual that hopefully could get it out. It wanted control. It did not like the fact of her trying to convey messages of inside her to her friends, and took control and tried to have her attack and harm her friends. Luckily, all these attacks proved unfruitful, none of them landing, and the party eventually able to contain her and knock some sense into her, basically hold on to her until she was strong enough with her will to regain control.
Right.
And that's something that I'm assuming the party might be working towards eventually, trying to figure out. There has to be some knowledge somewhere of how to successfully, lack of better description, exorcise the demon.
Yeah. Don't leave it to Grunk to do that.
Yeah, don't leave it to Grunk to do that. That would be less than fruitful.
Yeah.
Let's go to Gaius next. Gaius is played by Panda. Gaius is a geriatric minotaur with chronergy magic. So let's get the oldest time jokes out of the way right now.
Yeah.
He's about, for anybody that's watching this, he's about as old as the man in the bottom left corner of the screen.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Recording is over.
No, he's much older than the guy in the bottom left of the screen. Gaius actually was a professor at Longbench Academy, and through some stuff in his past, growing up, studying there, living a fucking long majority of his life there, stuff happened where there was essentially a purge, but like an attack on the school via disgruntled students that did not believe that the professors were telling them everything, withholding magic that they should know, that they had a right to know because they could harness magic. And growing up through it, the main thing was, these professors telling them magic is, for everybody as long as they can control it. Well, a lot of these students, maybe some of them troubled, some of them very well in their very well practiced. You could see why them thinking the professors were holding magic away from them became prevalent. But Gaius is probably one of the leveler heads of the party, along with Lorelei. You guys will see shortly. Always astute to try to think a problem out. He's got to get a bit of a gambling addiction. Not really. It kind of jumps to conclusions on a few things, but he's got his own demons he's wrestling with, per se.
Right.
If you'd like, I'll do it. Here, I'm going to background change, and I'll explain it here more in a minute. All right, as we move on to our next person in the game. All right, you go ahead and pull up Venovici Incantatus, the long ass name.
We just call her Vin.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Vin is our tiefling. If I'm 100%, the cat is out of the bag for the party. Honest, but she is our tiefling disguised succubus. Who on the map, kind of a reason I pulled it up on there. She is the hero of a town called Sake. Gizzard's Bay had a trading conflict with Sake many years ago. Not really many years, but like 2 or 3 years plus. And while the battle was not looking too well, say battle was mostly some town guards, trade guards, farmers, nothing you would, see military stuff over. She was the hero of the battle, coming to Sake's aid when they needed it the most. And now pretty much she can get away with a lot of stuff in Sake. And it was pretty apparent her clout, let's go with that word, when the party arrived in Sake. And she's definitely the cook of the party. Bubbly, easily curious about new people. She forgets to speak in common sometimes, which is problematic. But she's not. She's one of my favorite characters in the party. I say that they're all my favorite party. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Andy. I probably like Andy the most. This is Andy. Andy is the horse of the party.
Eddie, don't feed him, sir.
Yes, referring to the time where Grunk stuck some pixie sticks up Andy's nose while the party was on the back of the carriage and made the Minotaur Wizard fall off the back.
To be fair, he was moving too slow. Grunk was just trying to help him out.
If you say so. All right, and our next one, Miss Lorelei.
Miss Lorelei.
Palax Marax. I've still probably pronounced that wrong. That's been told many times by my darling wife, who plays said person.
I'll let you pull her up real quick.
Boom. Show the players. It's not doing it. I have your name on it though.
not seeing it in my screen.
I should be there. Oh no, wait, hold up. That's the wrong name that starts with a G. There you go.
There you go.
Lorelei Palaxmarax is the fighter of the party. She is a homebrew race that myself and another player of the campaign have worked on, as well as the player of the race. She is a Nisan, a half elven, it's like bloodline sorcerer type kind of thing, but with a different spin on it.
Right.
Minus a lot of the magic. She does have wings. Where do we base the culture out of? I think it was kind of Italian-esque.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where.
Yeah, with at least the culture. She comes from a faraway land, where actually she was one of the first party members found. She was found with Grunk, or found by Grunk rather, as Grunk was out doing a little bit of scouting outside his den, saw some stuff going through the sky, and decided to investigate, as where it seemed to have crashed down was not very far from his den. He came upon Lorelei unconscious, lying beside a giant gold dragon. In the Nisan culture, through royalty, only the royals are the ones that have the closest bond with the dragons, those of royal blood. Whilst all the people in the kingdom are Nisan, they don't have as pure of a bond as the royals. The royals having pseudo dragons and having a deep connection with the larger dragons that actually help protect the royal family. Usually one per member. But through some stuff in the campaign, there was a coup with amongst the royals. Her mother and father were killed by her uncle, wanting to seek control of the entirety of the kingdom. She was able to flee with the help of her bodyguard and her dragon, her pseudo dragon as well, Draco. Draco and Lorelei were the only ones essentially found alive, as both her dragon and her bodyguard lay. Actually, I believe Harvick was not there. Her bodyguard was not there.
No, it was just his. If I remember right, it was just his gear.
Yeah, his gear and the dragon.
Right.
Now, for the first few months of the campaign, but first few months of not real life sessions, so just pre-story, about 7 weeks, so a little over 2 months, with damaged wing and some cracked ribs, and some underwear bandages. Grunk took care of Lorelei in an abandoned shack, constantly moving. Every now and then, every week they'd find a new spot, be it a mile down the road or 10 feet out the door. This looks better. Whatever it was, a bond slowly growing.
He took out those spiders really good. Yes,
there was I believe it was a lone spider coming down the door. That in Grunk's eyes at that time was probably about as big as him. But
yeah, but it was like one of those little jumping spiders, and he just
yeah. And that, believe the trek was the reason for them essentially running into some of the other party members. Vin was actually headed to Cedarvale for a yearly cooking competition that she was eager to attend. And she came across meeting a couple of the priests in the town, bonded with them a little bit, and traveled with them, learning the aesthetics and the proper preparation techniques for a grilled cheese, which she had never heard of, but immediately took a liking to. Perhaps finding the finer things that happen behind the robes, will fold to Gaius, who also, I believe his reasoning was just trying to seek out somebody in the world, led him to a cart path where he ran across a couple of random travelers, more of a caravan headed to Cedarville, bringing supplies and the such. He actually came across the bakers from the town, aptly named, our last name, surname Baker. Met them and learned of their amazing cupcakes and the abilities of what the father baker, Ryan, said was an easy baking oven given to them by some gnomes. Easily set upable in maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. Traveled and was able to safely get there as a little treacherous incursion had came across. Hills are not for elderly minotaurs.
No.
And then Miss Leandra was actually already in the Cedarville area, as running further south from Nellie Bell due to accusations from the Crown and the Royal Guard up there of creating monstrosities against the Crown or her entire family, the house she served and lived with, and her basically being a key instrument into that. She figured it was best to get out of Dodge into the only thing she had really ever been super comfortable with, other than her maybe whatever close friends she had in the area, the woods. Place where she felt at home, place where she felt like she could do the most. Surviving, getting rations by turning in animal pelts, small bundles of herbs and mushrooms and whatnot to the vendors in Cedarville. The group got a request. Say they were all in the tavern, I believe. Was it a tavern? Where did you all meet it? Had it in here?
Yeah, we met at a tavern, I believe.
Yeah, it was the Golden Hammer. There was a quest put upon them to, I'll say, not really a quest put upon them, but more so a walking around town, a couple guards looking for people to maybe help figure out what was going on beneath the cathedral, as our past player, Jeremy, who had been with us, was in prison for, rogue stuff, and was put on duty to help clear out a little bit of a pathway to go further into build more crypts, more little studded areas for the temple. Came across a pre-existing chamber that they did not know was there. And as one of the guards went to go investigate it, loud, shrill screams and horrifying sounds were heard from the other side, to which the other guard on duty there hastily told him to cover that shit up. We have big problems. The town guard, not really wanting to get their hands immediately dirty with that, decided to see if they could pay off some adventurers to go figure out what the hell was that scary down there. This is essentially our first character party bonding experience. As
just kind of interrupt. Yeah, we bonded real quick because somebody decided to poke an undead owlbear.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't Grunk.
Group getting.
It wasn't Grunk.
I know. Actually, I believe that was. I don't remember correctly. Vin.
Yeah.
It was Vin or Leandra.
So to sum it up, that part, this campaign was almost very short within one session.
Yes, there was a sleeping owlbear that, with the stealth that, if I remember correctly, came in there with a decent stealth. Somebody decided to poke the massing corpse in the corner, which turned out to be an undead owlbear. Yes, an owlbear against first level players. I'm a new DM, but they made out of it. So,
well,
I get to use the line.
To be fair, Michael. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. There's certain things that you probably shouldn't poke, which kind of goes back to Elril about a giant ape and something about a lizard folk messing with a giant ape. Yeah. Okay. But
don't. And the adage, "Don't poke a sleeping dragon." Well, it also works for fucking undead owlbears. But the rest of the dungeon was successfully explored and cleared out by the party, finding a necromantic, ritualistic circle in front of the god of death for my campaign, which you have access to the Pantheon thing. It was for those of religious studious, which I believe was Gaius that figured this out, and I'm finding this out now. I'm going to have to redo some imagery, as it looks like a couple of links are dead for it. But Newman, it was Newman the Barbarian was the temple or the statue that it was made up to. The one right there with the 3 drops of blood, set into a circle with spikes on the edge. He is a chaotic evil god of death and bravery. Um, but they found a skeleton king locked in a necromantic ritualistic loop, who they killed, and believe, if memory serves me correct, you turned over what vices you found in there to the
Right.
church.
Yeah.
From there, the party stayed in the area for a little bit to heal up, enjoy their downtime at the festival, which Vin took first place, almost got second place, but somebody noticed that the guy that was winning was cheating, which got him disqualified and removed from the disqualified means removed. But it got him disqualified, leaving Vin to win with a nice little prize to boot with that. From there, the party went a little further south, as it came to light that Lorelai's brother was looking for her and hoped to meet her. It was set to potentially meet in a place called the Jeweled Crest down here, and I believe the original ETA was around 14 to 15 days.
Yeah.
Traveling a little further south, the party came across a cave encampment through way of a random man out in the field by this crevice who was sharpening a sword, seemingly in tears. His house looked tattered and ransacked. Asked about what happened. Turns to be that his wife and daughter were taken, and he was going to get them back, no matter if it cost him his life or not. Through a little more poking and prodding, the party found out that a couple goblins came, raided his house, took what they could find that wasn't fighting back more than they could handle, which at the time was his wife and his daughter, and dragged them back to their cave and put them up into some kind of cells. Through a little bit of exploration and more clearing of this little cave, the party came across a odd artifact, or rather Gaius and Grunk came across an odd artifact, which, as they were exiting, kind of started to show its light, as it seemed time was flickering back and forth. The party went to try to find the wife and daughter in the caves, and Lorelai and Leandra located them first, and when they went to try to release them from their cells and grab a hold of them to help them up off the ground, they found that they were touching tattered skeletons and clothing. But when they let go, it was a solid being again. Regrouping and in relaying this information, Gaius deduced that there must be some kind of rip in time in the area, and it was only right that he do what he could to try to fix it. They decided to, if I remember correctly, you guys did try to get the wife and daughter out, or decided to leave? I believe you decided to leave.
No, we took them out with us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was able to be stabilized, or just luckily enough to get them. But bringing them out outside the cave, the outside had changed. There was no longer a cleared path down to the cave where they had gone before. It was now overgrown with brush. and whatever foliage had came across in many years. Um, Gaius, re-entering the cave and looking again, it looks to have been in disuse for some time. Decided to exit, and the group went up back the pathway to the gentleman that initially mentioned the whole altercation. Looking at the house, though, it was a complete disaster compared to what it had been before. It was maybe some shattered windows, some broken bits of door. Now it looked like it had been abandoned for good 20 years. A little bit of investigation found a skeleton and a sword at the bottom of a chasm, the same sword that had been being sharpened by the farmer. The party, deducing that it'd be best for them to continue on after guys did a little bit of magic wibbly wobbly, continued on to a place familiar to one of the party, Sake. Through Sake, they found a little bit of more information out. I believe they had, where was I having my logs here? Trying to recap 5 months worth of stuff. Because we had that was the odd thing, is because at this point, after I believe 1 or 2 sessions here, this was our month and a half break that we had.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so they had left the cave, noticing the several oddities around the area. Gaius, that later that night, found a mysterious note while struggling to stay awake, researching the orb. After deciphering antics, thanks mostly to the most unlikely person in the party, Grunk was able to read the scroll. And it was, I have the notes somewhere from the Gaius's items. The note being deciphered by Grunk to read, I yearn for my brothers and sisters, as with them time moves fluid, but without them time is disrupted and random. I yearn for a rotation to be fluid once more. The woods where the nature talkers rest is where you'll find one more. The seas by the oars is where you'll find 2 more, and the mist is where you'll put it all at risk for 3. The ocean is a gym where the last 6 come in motion. With a timely devotion, you shall set the unnatural, or you shall rest the unnatural motion. Tick, tock. With that
doesn't sound ominous or nothing.
Yeah, with that, the party had maybe a little bit of an idea where they could go, but they decided to continue their traveling to Sake, where they came in to gather supplies and seek the help of a individual by the name of Kojil Garask, basically Nigel Thornberry if he was a adventure hunter. Offered to help guide them up into the Gerardian woods to seek what they believe had been the next orb. Through some antics, and there they were pressured where they had camped at, or where they found camp. They were pressured by this odd mist that seemed to be corrupting the forest and certain parts of it, pushed further inward, where they came across a tribe of monkey folk, and remembering what they've been told by Kujal, that they did not take kindly to being harmed or having the creatures in there harmed, had watched combat that had happened with the party where they had chosen to knock out the creatures instead of slaying them. Happy, I say happy, I was going to say pleasured, but that didn't sound weird. Happy by the fact that they chose to not kill these creatures, decided to take them to meet with the council, and through meeting with the council, they found out that there's some sort of corruption in the town, or in the forest rather. Directed to whereabouts that might be, they offered to assist in cleansing the corruption in exchange for safe passage back out. The party, through a bit of topsy-turvy events, was able to get in, They found a couple of creatures that really did not like them being there, that came out when certain puzzles were done wrong. But eventually was able to be cleared, and Gaius was able to acquire another orb of Aspectu. Coming back, relaying this information to the council, who had already begun to notice changes in the forest, changes in monsters' demeanors. Gave them a couple things in thankfulness for this. The party eventually left the next morning, traveled back to Sake. See, we are almost pushing into actual start time, but I'll continue. Well, not really pushing. We got 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Just going through a lot more liquid to keep my mouth dry than I thought I would.
It's a little harder than it looks, isn't it?
Yeah, not too crazy. From Sake, they got a ride through a contact of Vin's, after helping out a local bartender gain some kind of intelligence through helps of a pendant, down southward to about here, where they came across a town that had its own little oddities, and upon docking, met by a small gnomish figure who presented a opportunity of sorts to them, and if they were interested, to go to the appropriate place at the appropriate time, and his master would relay more information. Unbeknownst to the party, upon agreement to this task, part of the requirement was to just investigate on the premises of old ruins, where he had lost his daughter, or his daughter had went missing, as well as had his wife. Unbeknownst to them, though, the way he was relaying this seemed to have been recent. In reality, about 78 years prior, which through some chronergy spells, he had locked them into a chamber and transported them back in time, and had them in place of a couple of prisoners by a cult known as the Bronze Shield. Going through and figuring out their ways of escape in that little bit of a session, they were able to successfully escape, acquire some knowledge in the area. Lorelei actually acquiring a book that, once read, they found out a lot of information on vampires. They were able to acquire the daughter, return her safely, as well as help a few things. Stopped a young boy from being hurt. Actually encouraged the townspeople to fight back against the tyrannical rule that seemed to be happening with the Bronze Shield, possibly changing the course of history a little bit, as prior knowledge then do what?
Pardon me, sneezed.
You're fine. Prior knowledge that Vin had went and visited Sake. The reason they were having so much struggle against Gizzard's Bay was because they were about maybe 20 years old, as opposed to Gizzard's Bay being 100 plus. But thanks to them encouraging the guards, well, say them, mostly Lorelei, encouraging the guards, decided to found it a good 65, 75 years before it, or say actually probably about 50, because it'd be 20 years old. About 50 years before it had went there, as the man who originally did found the town went there in his late 60s, as opposed to his early teens with the group of friends that he goes with. Coming back, to present day, after they had returned the daughter, magical timey-wimey stuff took over and did return them back on. They were in present day, continued on their journey with the stuff promised to them by the vampire Cassius, which was a healthy pot of money in a place called the Jewel Crest, which they'd already been headed to, and a thank you from him, that if they ever needed help, as long as they shall live, they just need ask. Smooth travels from there to the Jewel Crest. however, arriving about 2 days earlier than the contact had usually relayed to them, to her brother, to Lorelai's brother. When they came, to their knowledge, he was not supposed to be back for about 2 more days, or 3 more days actually. But was informed that he had in fact, upon hearing her come back that night, coming back that night, decided to abruptly come back. There was a little bit of rowdiness at a local pub later that night. A sangria'd up Cobalt, a backroom poker match with the time magic wizard guys, who actually had him ending up getting jumped, beat up, and relieved of most of his gold, if not all of it. I believe it was all of it.
It was, quite a bit.
He had mistakenly believed he had saw somebody filching a card in their hand, and then it was in fact them playing with their pet mouse. Through that, later that night when he was found, it was presented to the town guard, who went out and started doing their due diligence. That next morning, at a impromptu speech that her brother was apparently giving, the party was invited he was trying to help rally up troops to help take back his hometown, or sometimes his home country, rather. A little bit into the speech, however, with the party sitting side stage, and Lorelai standing right by her brother, a figure popped out of a portal that appeared right behind her brother, Paul Palmerax, and promptly proceeded to assassinate what they had perceived to be her brother. Little revelations came to light that it was in fact actually a spy that was acting as her brother, and the assassin, or would-be assassin of her brother, was in fact her actual brother. Through some questioning that Lorelai deemed to be truthful as stuff that only they would know through their youth, it was revealed to the party that yes, he is in fact the legitimate Paul. Through a few other fortunate turn of events, there were more antics in the city. A magic shop was visited, a tea shop was visited. There were ventures to go to the Smith portion of the city, whereas upon going into there was a loud explosion. Come to find out that a person that Lorelai was actually looking for I was going to use succumbed, but they were caught in the explosion with another person, and way down in the Underdark, where they don't normally go to. With approval from the king, the party ventured down there, fought a couple of tentacle nasties that were in the area, and managed to secure them and lead them back up to the surface. From there, we pretty much ended for the night. That was essentially our last session. I probably butchered a bunch of the recap, but it's for the most part there. If anybody watching this ever has questions, feel free to ask, and we'd be more than willing to help fill you in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Do you have any other questions you think it might be good to throw on there?
Not that I can think of, Michael. But with that, that's pretty much the campaign recap for Ansdon. Like I said, it's 6-7 months worth of recap in 45 minutes or so. That's not bad, man. So we're going to try to do this weekly, me and Michael. That way we can give you recaps and it didn't last 45 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like for probably every 2 minutes of it's good to think of, for those that don't know D&D very well.
Yeah.
For probably every 2 minute spurt of stuff I just spit out, there's probably a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes of roleplay behind it.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do our recaps for Ansdon on Sundays, and that way you guys will have them prior to Mondays. With that in mind, we got to get ready for stream because we're running a little bit late. But stay tuned. We look forward to doing more for you guys. And don't forget the cupcakes!
See you guys next time. All right.